Dr. Sci-Fi sat in his dimly lit laboratory, his four slender fingers tapping nervously on his workstation. His large, amber eyes scanned the glowing screen in front of him, disbelief written all over his face. This had to be a mistake. It had to be. The Xelphorian scientist had spent decades studying the reproductive biology of species across the galaxy. From the slow-breeding Voltorans, who produced a single offspring every 300 years, to the delicate Invracs, who needed artificial incubation chambers just to maintain their dwindling population, reproduction was a challenge for most intelligent civilizations. But then, there were the humans. Sci-Fi had only recently included them in his study. Their homeworld, Earth, had been classified as a minor Category 3 civilization, technologically advanced, but still new to the galactic stage. He had expected their data to be unremarkable. Just another species with difficult, complicated breeding patterns. Instead, what he found was impossible. He rechecked his figures, birth rates, survival rates, reproductive cycles. Every single piece of data pointed to the same conclusion. Humans were the most fertile, intelligent species in the known galaxy. Sci-Fi's mind reeled. How could this be? Their birth rate far surpassed every advanced species. They didn't require controlled genetic programs, artificial breeding environments, or government-enforced reproduction cycles. They simply had children. And not just a few, millions every year. This must be an error, he muttered to himself, rubbing his temple. He ran the calculations again. Then again. The results did not change. Taking a deep breath, he accessed the Unified Galactic Biology Archive and compared the human data with hundreds of other species. The differences were staggering. The highly advanced Vortari species had managed to maintain a stable population of only 3.2 billion for over 2,000 years. The massive, warlike Rukthal barely reached 900 million in total, their strict warrior traditions limiting birth rates. Even the mighty Tizor Imperium, known for their genetic superiority, struggled to produce more than a few 100,000 offspring per generation. And yet, Earth had nearly 8 billion humans, and that number was still growing. Sci-Fi felt a chill run down his spine. This is unheard of, he whispered. The implications were enormous. Species across the galaxy had spent centuries trying to balance survival with resource management. Many had strict birth regulations. Others relied on artificial gestation technologies just to maintain their numbers. But humans, they reproduced naturally, frequently, easily. For a moment, Sci-Fi considered reporting his findings directly to the Galactic Science Council, but then he hesitated. The galaxy was not a kind place. Many species were on the brink of extinction, struggling to maintain their populations. Wars, environmental collapse, and genetic weaknesses had left entire civilizations in decline. If word spread that humans had an overabundance of fertility, some species might see them as a solution, not as equals, but as a resource. Sci-Fi shuddered at the thought. Still, science demanded answers. He needed more data. Perhaps there was something unique about human biology that explained this anomaly. He decided to send a direct request to the Terran Embassy for additional medical records, cultural insights, and environmental studies. Just as he was about to compose the message, the door to his lab slid open. A tall, blue-skinned Lethari female stepped in, her silver robes signifying her rank as a senior scientist. It was Dr. Keltora, one of the leading experts in xenobiology. Sci-Fi, she said in a calm but curious tone. I received your preliminary report. You look troubled. He hesitated. It's the humans. Their reproductive efficiency is beyond anything we've seen before. It challenges everything we know about advanced species biology. Keltora tilted her head. I read the report. Their numbers are certainly impressive. But why does this trouble you? Sci-Fi exhaled slowly. Because if the wrong people find out, humans may not be treated as allies. They may be seen as a commodity, something to be used rather than respected. Did they count something shocking? 30 missing humans, locked in stasis chambers. The captors, an unknown faction of desperate aliens trying to smuggle humans off-world for genetic research. For the first time in history, humanity realized the terrifying truth. They weren't being courted for alliances anymore. They were being hunted. The awakening. Dr. Xivar watched in horror as events unfolded. He had only wanted to study human biology, to understand their unique resilience. But now, his research had changed everything. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting, and humanity was at the center of it all. Would they rise to meet this challenge? Would they fight back? Ivar had a feeling he already knew the answer. Humans had survived everything their world had thrown at them. Now the galaxy was about to learn just how resilient they truly were. Ambassador Daniel Carter stood in the center of the United Earth Government war room, his face grim as the holographic display projected a terrifying reality. In the past 2 weeks alone, there had been 7 attempted abductions of human citizens. 3 ships had vanished without a trace. On Mars, the captured humans had confirmed that their kidnappers were part of a desperate black market genetic syndicate, trying to extract human DNA. And it wasn't just criminals. Several alien governments had made questionable offers, some polite, some not. Humanity was no longer just another species in the galaxy. They were a prize. Carter turned to the UEG security chief, General Helena Brooks, a woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen far too many battles. "We need a response," he said. Brooks folded her arms. "We already have one." With a wave of her hand, the holographic map shifted, revealing a new defense perimeter around Earth and its colonies. Project Aegis, orbital defense platforms, advanced scanning systems, and rapid response fleets stationed at every major spaceport. "We're locking down the Sol system," Brooks said. "No unauthorized ships get in or out without a full security check. Any unregistered alien vessel in human space will be treated as a potential threat." Carter exhaled. "And if they resist?" Brooks's expression was cold. "Then they'll learn the hard way that humans are not easy prey." The galaxy watches. The sudden militarization of human space shocked the galactic community. For decades, humanity had been a relatively peaceful presence in the stars, eager to trade, willing to negotiate, rarely aggressive. But now, with their people under threat, they had turned into something else. The Letheric Confederation sent an urgent request for diplomatic talks, claiming they had never intended harm. The Tzor Imperium, always cautious, withdrew all research proposals. Even the warlike Rukthal warlords hesitated. But not everyone backed down. Several shadowy factions saw human resistance as a challenge. Instead of open diplomacy, they turned to stealth. The infiltrators. It started small. A cargo freighter in the asteroid belt went missing. A scientific outpost near Saturn reported a breach in their security. Then came the real disaster. On Europa Station, a deep space research facility orbiting Jupiter's frozen moon, alarms blared as security personnel rushed through the corridors. Dr. Lina sprinted down the hall, her breath coming in sharp gasps. She had seen them. Tall figures, moving unnaturally fast, their bodies covered in dark cloaks. Not like any known species, something different, something prepared. She ducked into a security checkpoint, slamming the lockdown button. The doors sealed shut just as she heard a sickening screech from the other side. Her communicator crackled. "Dr. Lai, we have a breach on Deck 4. They're taking people." "I know," she whispered. "They're already here." The station shuddered. A ship was detaching from the docking bay. The infiltrators had what they came for. Before Lai could warn anyone, she heard the sound of the air vents opening above her. And then, everything went dark. The turning point. News of the Europa incident reached Earth within hours. 7 scientists missing. No distress calls. The attackers had slipped past every defense. Would the galaxy see humans as allies, or as a resource. The council debated for hours, but no clear decision was reached. Some argued for secrecy, others for diplomacy. A few even suggested controlled genetic trade agreements with humanity. But Scifi knew one thing for certain: humans would find out eventually. And when they did, the galaxy would never be the same again. Dr. Scifi had hoped the Galactic Science Council would act with caution. He had hoped they would take time to understand the consequences of his research. He had been wrong. Within days of his report, the news had leaked. Nobody knew exactly how, but the entire galaxy now buzzed with a single, shocking revelation. Humans were the most fertile, intelligent species in existence. Scifi sat in his lab, watching the data feeds flood in. Every major news outlet, every political faction, every research institute was talking about the same thing. Some species reacted with awe, others with fear, and some with dangerous intentions. The race begins. The Letheric Confederation was the first to act. As a species with slow reproduction and declining numbers, they saw humans as a potential lifeline. Their leaders sent a formal request to Earth, proposing a scientific partnership to study human genetics. At first, it seemed like a harmless diplomatic exchange, but Scifi knew better. The Letheri weren't offering knowledge, they were asking for human DNA. Within hours, other factions followed. The Tezor Imperium sent envoys to discuss mutual benefits. The Voltoran elders offered humans access to ancient medical secrets in exchange for reproductive research. Then came the more concerning offers. The Ruckthal warlords made a bold declaration. If humans are the key to survival, then they must be protected, by force if necessary. Scifi shivered. He knew what protection meant to the Ruckthal. Their empire had once protected 3 smaller civilizations. Those species now lived under strict military rule, their worlds no longer their own. Even worse were the whispers of black market dealings, rogue genetic labs, outlaw research groups, and desperate species on the brink of extinction were already making plans. Humanity had become the most valuable species in the galaxy, and they didn't even know it yet. The Terran Embassy's dilemma. On orbital station Theta, the Terran ambassador Daniel Carter stared at the flood of diplomatic requests piling up on his console. The messages ranged from polite inquiries to downright suspicious offers. One alien faction had even suggested a cultural exchange program that required human volunteers to live among them permanently. Carter rubbed his temples. What the hell is going on? His assistant, a young officer named Elena Vasquez, hesitated before responding. Sir, it looks like every major species suddenly wants something from us. And they all keep mentioning fertility rates. Carter's blood ran cold. Get me a secure line to the United Earth government, he ordered. Now. Shadows in the dark. While official diplomats scrambled to control the situation, others had already decided to act in secret. On the outer rim of the galaxy, in the dark markets of Korvac Station, a group of hooded figures met in a dimly lit chamber. We cannot let bureaucracy slow us down, one voice hissed. Human genetics must be acquired, by any means necessary. Another figure, cloaked in deep crimson robes, nodded. Our species is dying. We do not have time for negotiations. A third voice, lower and more mechanical, simply said, begin the harvest. First contact. Again. On Earth, life continued as usual, blissfully unaware of the storm approaching. That changed when the first abduction attempt occurred. A human research vessel, the SS Horizon, had been conducting routine planetary scans near Jupiter's orbit when its crew suddenly vanished. No distress signal, no wreckage, just gone. The United Earth government went into full alert. Military patrols were doubled. Every ship entering human space was closely monitored. Then, 3 days later, an alien transport ship crash-landed on Mars. When investigators arrived, Dr. Scifi sat in his dimly lit laboratory, his 4 slender fingers tapping nervously on his workstation. His large, amber eyes scanned the glowing screen in front of him, disbelief written all over his face. This had to be a mistake. It had to be. The Xelphorian scientist had spent decades studying the reproductive biology of species across the galaxy. From the slow-breeding Voltorans, who produced a single offspring every 300 years, to the delicate Invracs, who needed artificial incubation chambers just to maintain their dwindling population. Reproduction was a challenge for most intelligent civilizations. But then, there were the humans. Sci-Fi had only recently included them in his study. Their homeworld, Earth, had been classified as a minor Category 3 civilization, technologically advanced, but still new to the galactic stage. He had expected their data to be unremarkable. Just another species with difficult, complicated breeding patterns. Instead, what he found was impossible. He rechecked his figures, birth rates, survival rates, reproductive cycles. Every single piece of data pointed to the same conclusion. Humans were the most fertile, intelligent species in the known galaxy. Sci-Fi's mind reeled. How could this be? Their birth rate far surpassed every advanced species. They didn't require controlled genetic programs, artificial breeding environments, or government-enforced reproduction cycles. They simply had children. And not just a few, millions every year. This must be an error, he muttered to himself, rubbing his temple. He ran the calculations again. Then again. The results did not change. Taking a deep breath, he accessed the Unified Galactic Biology Archive and compared the human data with hundreds of other species. The differences were staggering. The highly advanced Vortari species had managed to maintain a stable population of only 3.2 billion for over 2,000 years. The massive, warlike Rukthal barely reached 900 million in total, their strict warrior traditions limiting birth rates. Even the mighty Tizor Imperium, known for their genetic superiority, struggled to produce more than a few 100,000 offspring per generation. And yet, Earth had nearly 8 billion humans, and that number was still growing. Sci-Fi felt a chill run down his spine. This is unheard of, he whispered. The implications were enormous. Species across the galaxy had spent centuries trying to balance survival with resource management. Many had strict birth regulations. Others relied on artificial gestation technologies just to maintain their numbers. But humans, they reproduced naturally, frequently, easily. For a moment, Sci-Fi considered reporting his findings directly to the Galactic Science Council, but then he hesitated. The galaxy was not a kind place. Many species were on the brink of extinction, struggling to maintain their populations. Wars, environmental collapse, and genetic weaknesses had left entire civilizations in decline. If word spread that humans had an overabundance of fertility, some species might see them as a solution, not as equals, but as a resource. Sci-Fi shuddered at the thought. Still, science demanded answers. He needed more data. Perhaps there was something unique about human biology that explained this anomaly. He decided to send a direct request to the Terran Embassy for additional medical records, cultural insights, and environmental studies. Just as he was about to compose the message, the door to his lab slid open. A tall, blue-skinned Lethari female stepped in, her silver robes signifying her rank as a senior scientist. It was Dr. Keltora, one of the leading experts in xenobiology. Sci-Fi, she said in a calm but curious tone. I received your preliminary report. You look troubled. He hesitated. It's the humans. Their reproductive efficiency is beyond anything we've seen before. It challenges everything we know about advanced species biology. Keltora tilted her head. I read the report. Their numbers are certainly impressive. But why does this trouble you? Sci-Fi exhaled slowly. Because if the wrong people find out, humans may not be treated as allies. They may be seen as a commodity, something to be used rather than respected. The dropship descended through the thick atmosphere of Vareth 9, landing outside an abandoned industrial complex. The moment they stepped inside, they knew something was wrong. The facility was empty. Or so they thought. The trap. As Cole and his team moved deeper inside, they found signs of recent activity. Bloodstains, broken restraints, medical equipment still running. And then they found them. Stasis pods lined the walls, each containing a human prisoner. Some were still unconscious, their bodies covered in scanning nodes. Others had not survived. Cole clenched his fist. Sick bastards. Then his communicator crackled. "Commander," came the voice of his sniper, stationed outside. "We've got incoming ships, multiple bogies. They were waiting for us." Cole's heart pounded. It was a setup. The firefight. The lights shut off, plunging the facility into darkness. Then came the sounds. Heavy footsteps, weapons charging, growls from unseen creatures. They weren't alone. The first shot came from the shadows. One of Cole's soldiers fell, a searing plasma bolt burning through their armor. "Ambush. Take Kyovir," Cole shouted. His team moved fast, diving behind cover as a group of alien mercenaries opened fire. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were hired hunters, trained in capturing and subduing targets, not just eliminating them. Cole gritted his teeth. They weren't here to kill. They were here to capture. "Not today," he growled. He threw a grenade, the explosion sending mercenaries flying. His squad fired back with precision, ruthlessness, and human fury. The aliens had underestimated them. Again. Within minutes, half of the mercenary force was down. The rest began to retreat, realizing they had made a grave mistake. Cole activated his communicator. "Evac now. We're taking the prisoners with us." Outside, the UNS Phantom swooped in, opening its side doors as Cole's team dragged the freed prisoners on board. Before leaving, Cole left one final message for anyone watching. A small tactical nuke, set to detonate 5 minutes after departure. As the Phantom shot into the sky, the entire facility erupted into flames, wiping out the operation completely. The message was clear. Hunt humans, and humans will hunt you back. The ripple effect. The destruction of the Verith 9 facility shook the galactic underworld. The groups trafficking human genetics suddenly found themselves under attack, not just from humans, but from governments that had once ignored them. The Galactic Science Council, desperate to maintain stability, issued a formal ban on all unauthorized research into human biology. The Rukthal warlords, once considering taking humans under their protection, now sent a warning to all factions. Do not provoke the humans. Even the Tizor Imperium, cautious as ever, pulled back all inquiries into human DNA research. But humanity wasn't done yet. The final warning. In a private meeting between the United Earth government and the Galactic Council, Ambassador Carter stood before the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. He placed a small data chip on the table. "We have intelligence on every single group that has kidnapped, experimented on, or attempted to exploit our people," he said coldly. The room fell silent. Carter continued, "We will not ask for permission to protect ourselves." He leaned forward. "You have 2 choices. Work with us to eradicate this problem, or stay out of our way." No one spoke. The council members exchanged glances, realizing the truth. Humanity had changed. They weren't just another species anymore. They were a force to be reckoned with. And the galaxy had just learned one final lesson. Never, ever underestimate the humans. The galaxy had tried to take from humanity its people, its DNA, its future. Now, humanity was done being hunted. The silent war had turned into an open battlefield, and the humans were making sure every faction involved in the abductions paid the price. Warriors in the shadows. Deep in the unclaimed regions of space, a hidden research station orbited a dying red star. The base belonged to the Varnex cartel, one of the largest black market organizations trafficking human DNA. For years, they had been untouchable. Until now. Aboard the stealth ship UNS Revenant, Commander James Cole and his strike team of elite operatives prepared for the assault. Cole checked his rifle, his jaw tight. His team had shut down one operation already, but the enemy hadn't stopped. This time, they wouldn't just destroy the operation. They would send a message to everyone who thought humanity was an easy target. Remember, Cole said to his team, "We're not here to negotiate. We go in fast, take what we need, and wipe this place off the map." A soldier next to him grinned. Just another day at work. The Revenant fired its thrusters, launching toward the research station at full speed. The Varnex cartel was about to learn a painful lesson. The assault begins. The station's defense systems detected the Revenant just seconds before impact. Alarms blared. Automated turrets whirred to life. The cartel's soldiers scrambled to their stations, shouting orders in panic. Too late. The Revenant's EMP cannons fired, knocking out the station's power for 40 seconds. That was all the time Cole's team needed. Boom. The airlocks breached. Armed humans in advanced combat suits stormed the corridors, moving like shadows in the flickering emergency lights. The first wave of cartel soldiers never stood a chance. Within minutes, Cole's team had taken control of the lower levels. They found the research labs, filled with stasis pods containing human captives, some alive, some barely breathing. Cole's blood boiled. Not anymore. He activated his comms. "We've got the prisoners. Uploading all cartel data now. Preparing for detonation." But then, a new alarm sounded. Reinforcements were coming. The cartel's last stand. A squad of heavily armed alien mercenaries stormed the corridors, firing plasma rounds at Cole's team. The humans took cover, returning fire with brutal efficiency. The walls shook from the gunfire. Cole spotted the enemy leader, a towering four-armed reptilian named Vorak, infamous for his cruelty. "You should have stayed hidden, human," Vorak roared. "You think you can stop us all?" Cole smirked. "We already have." He threw a thermal charge straight at Vorak's feet. Boom. The blast sent Vorak crashing into a wall. The remaining mercenaries hesitated. That was their mistake. Within moments, the fight was over. The cartel's forces lay defeated, their station in flames. Cole activated his communicator. Charges set. Evacuate now. As the Revenant pulled away, the station erupted in a massive explosion, sending debris scattering into the void. Another human trafficking hub erased. The galaxy takes notice. News of the Varnex cartel's destruction spread across the galactic underworld. The criminals who once profited from human DNA were now terrified. Every cartel, every syndicate, every corrupt government involved in human trafficking knew one thing: humanity was coming for them, and they wouldn't stop. Even the Galactic Council, which had once hesitated, now saw the truth. If they didn't stop the trafficking, humanity would do it alone. And if humanity did it alone, the results would be far worse. A meeting of consequences. On the planet Zelcor 7, a neutral ground for interstellar diplomacy, an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was called. Ambassador Daniel Carter sat at the center of the room, his expression calm but unyielding. The council leaders, representing hundreds of civilizations, stared at him with a mix of fear and respect. One of them, a blue-skinned diplomat from the Tizor Imperium, cleared her throat. "Ambassador Carter, your species has made itself very clear. But tell us, what is it that you want?" Carter placed a data pad on the table. "This," he said, "is a list of every known facility, organization, and government involved in the illegal trade of human genetics." The room fell silent. Carter's voice hardened. "Shut them down. Immediately." A reptilian counselor scowled. "And if we refuse?" Carter smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Then we'll shut them down ourselves." The counselors exchanged nervous glances. They had seen the reports. The Varnex cartel, gone. The Kirith black market, destroyed. Humanity had become something else, a force that no one could control. Slowly, one by one, the council members agreed. Laws were passed. Investigations began. The trafficking networks were dismantled, not because of galactic morality, but because the galaxy feared humanity's wrath. The final warning. As Carter walked out of the council chamber, he received a message from General Brooks. It's done. The war wasn't over, but the tides had turned. The traffickers were being hunted. The predators had become the prey, and humanity had sent a final message to the stars. We are not for sale. The galaxy had changed. No longer was humanity seen as a resource to be taken. No longer were humans easy prey. Now, they were feared, respected, and untouchable. But the war was not over yet. There were still remnants of the trafficking networks, still hidden laboratories experimenting on human genetics, and still those who refused to accept that humanity was not for sale. And now, humanity was ready to end it all. The last target. Aboard the UNS Vanguard, the flagship of Earth's fleet, General Helena Brooks stood before a massive holographic display. It showed the final stronghold of the genetic traffickers, a secret base hidden deep within a nebula of ion storms. This was the core of the entire operation. If they took this down, the human trafficking trade would die forever. Commander James Cole and Ambassador Daniel Carter stood beside her. "This is the last one," Carter said, his voice calm but firm. Brooks nodded. "We make this count." Cole checked his gear. "We take them out. We send a message. Humanity is no one's experiment." The room was silent. Then Brooks spoke, her voice carrying the weight of all humanity's struggles. "Let's finish this." The infiltration begins. The nebula surrounding the enemy base made it nearly impossible to approach undetected. But humanity had adapted. Using new stealth technology, the UNS Vanguard led a fleet of strike ships through the storm, avoiding detection. Inside the enemy base, the last remaining scientists and mercenaries worked in secret, unaware of what was coming. Then, without warning, the attack began. The battle for humanity. Explosions rocked the base as humanity's forces stormed in from all sides. Cole's strike team breached the main laboratory, taking out mercenaries with precision and speed. The enemy fought back, but they were unprepared for the fury of the humans. Within minutes, the main research chambers were secured. Inside, they found the last remaining human captives, still locked in stasis. Some had been held for years, used for experiments by scientists who had no regard for life. Cole's heart burned with anger. Get them out of here. But before they could leave, a voice echoed through the chamber. You think you've won. The team turned. Standing on an elevated platform was Dr. Verex, the last surviving scientist of the trafficking empire. A tall, gray-skinned alien with cold, glowing eyes. You may destroy this place, Verex sneered, but do you truly believe the galaxy will leave you alone? Cole aimed his rifle. We're not asking for peace. We're demanding it. Verex laughed. Foolish humans, you are rare, yes. You are valuable. But your true power is not your strength. It is your reproduction. He grinned. You spread. You survive. And that makes you dangerous. Cole didn't hesitate. One shot. Verex fell. The last scientist of the trafficking empire was gone. Cole exhaled. Good riddance. Then he turned to his team. Blow this place to hell. The end of the traffickers. As the last human captives were evacuated, the team set explosive charges across the base. With seconds to spare, the humans escaped into their ships, watching from above as the base erupted into a fireball of destruction. The last stronghold of the traffickers was gone. And with it, the darkest chapter in humanity's history had ended. The new era. Months passed. Across the galaxy, the message had been received. Governments that had once ignored human trafficking now outlawed it completely. The Galactic Council passed strict laws ensuring no species would ever be hunted or exploited again. Even the criminal underworld had changed. No syndicate dared to trade in humans anymore. Humanity had not only won the war, they had rewritten the rules of the galaxy. The final meeting. On the planet Terra Prime, humanity's new diplomatic capital, Ambassador Carter sat in a private meeting with the leaders of the Galactic Council. A Teazor diplomat leaned forward. Humanity has proven its strength. But tell me, Ambassador, what do you wish to do now? Carter smiled. We wish to explore, to expand, to live without fear. The council members exchanged glances. Humanity had gone from being prey to a dominant force in the galaxy, and now they were choosing peace. The council leader nodded. Then let it be so. And with that, humanity took its place as a respected power in the stars, a future unwritten. As Carter looked up at the sky that night, he knew one thing for certain. Humanity had fought for its place in the galaxy, and now the future was theirs to write. Forever. This was no longer just abductions. This was war. General Brooks addressed the UEG Council with one final proposal. We've tried to play by galactic rules, she said, but if the galaxy sees us as a resource instead of an ally, then it's time we remind them who we really are. She activated a second hologram, a new project, Operation Iron Shield. Humanity wasn't just going to defend itself. They were going to fight back. The first strike. A week later, a classified UEG Black Ops team tracked the abducted scientists to a hidden research facility on the outer edge of Sereth space. The mission was simple. Get in, rescue the hostages, send a message. Commander James Cole led the assault. His team of 10 elite operatives moved through the shadows of the enemy base, silenced weapons at the ready. Inside, they found holding chambers filled with unconscious humans, and something worse, other species. The Sereth researchers weren't just studying humans. They were conducting cross-species experiments. Cole's jaw clenched. They're treating people like lab rats. He turned to his team. New orders. Burn this place to the ground. Within minutes, alarms blared as explosions rocked the facility. The scientists were freed. The experiments were destroyed. And as the Exareth ships tried to stop them, the human strike team erased them from the sky. The message is clear. The entire galaxy watched in stunned silence as news of the operation spread. The UEG had officially retaliated. They hadn't begged for help. They hadn't sought permission. They had acted. And now, the message was clear. Humanity would not be taken. Humanity would not be controlled. Humanity would fight. Dr. Exoevar, watching from his laboratory, exhaled. His research had changed everything. Now, there was no turning back. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. For too long, alien civilizations saw them as a resource, a curiosity, or a potential bargaining chip. Some sought alliances, others sought control. But after the Europa incident and the Sereth research facility raid, a new reality settled over the galactic community. Humans were not prey. They were hunters. The silent war begins. Deep within a hidden military command center on Luna Base, General Helena Brooks examined the latest intelligence reports. More abduction attempts, more black market trading of human genetic material. Even after their retaliation, certain factions still refused to stop. Carter, standing beside her, crossed his arms. You'd think after what happened on Sereth, they'd learn. Brooks shook her head. Desperate civilizations don't learn. They double down. She tapped a screen, bringing up a list of suspected groups. Unknown genetic syndicates, rogue planetary governments. Even some members of the Galactic Science Council had been caught funding illegal research. Humanity's fertility and genetic resilience had become the most valuable commodity in the galaxy. Carter sighed. So what's our next move? Brooks's expression was grim. We take the fight to them. Operation Ghost Fang. Aboard the stealth cruiser UNS Phantom, Commander James Cole and his team prepared for their next mission. Unlike the Sereth raid, this time they weren't rescuing hostages. They were hunting the hunters. Their target, a secret genetic lab on the rogue planet Vereth 9. Intel suggested that a powerful criminal syndicate was running an illegal operation there, kidnapping humans and experimenting on them. Cole checked his rifle and turned to his squad. We go in silent, we gather intel, and we shut them down. His eyes darkened. Permanently.